To convince me, we are back for week 12. This is the top of the Power Hour, the only NFL pregame show with all the stuff you care about, none of the fluff you don't. I can guarantee no other pregame shows we're having an intense debate about the value in Kendrick-born props right before they came on the air. I am Chad Millman. Over the next 30 minutes, my Action Network buddies, Sean Koerner, Simon Hunter, Chris Raybon, are going to try to convince me what props, what sides, what totals I should take for the NFL slate today. Plus, we have Evan Abrams with market reports and trends that make you sound smarter than your friends. We'll also bring in Dr. Nick Giffen. He's going to take us through the latest need to know from our luck rankings. At the bottom half of the hour, Gilles Gallant and Brian Matthews going to talk about the best touchdown props on the Touchdown Show. Before we begin, a reminder, like this video, subscribe to the Action Network YouTube page, and everything we're talking about, all the picks, all the data, all the research available in the award-winning Action Network app. Look what we have here on the leaderboard. Sean Koerner, I feel like you're coming back a little bit, ever so closely to inching back into 500 territory. Koerner, you're going to kick it off for us. Again, you're being dealt a disadvantaged hand. You say a prop within literally seconds. I want people watching to understand this. The line moves. You posted Nick Cross over 7.5 tackles and assists, the safety for the Colts yesterday at plus 100. I think before the alert came through in the Action Network app, it was already at minus 115 and climbing. So anything you say, lines move. What are you going to say right now?
Well, first of all, if Nick Cross is still 7.5, please take the over. But I got a fresh new one again for you this week. I'm going back to my wagon last year. I bet this a few times, cashed every single time. Going back to it here. It's Wale Robinson, longest reception under 15.5 yards. And Wandale tends to rack up receptions, but he doesn't get many yards with them. He has the second lowest average depth of target among qualified wide receivers this year. So only 2 of his 56 receptions this year have actually cleared 16 yards. And Danny Tommy Cutlets, I should say, is replacing Daniel Jones today. And actually, he completed 3 passes to Wandale over 16 yards last year. Even if you were to use that distribution for last year, I'm still getting a median closer to 14.5 yards here. Plus, Darius Slayton's return should ding Wandale's target share. Malik Neighbors, assuming he suits up, it looks like it's likely he's going to suit up today, is going to ding Wandale's target share. So, it should be very windy at the Meadowlands today. So I think Tampa Bay can play, closer line of scrimmage today, contain Wale Robinson. So I think that helps as well. He's only cleared this in 2 of 10 games this year. He has a median of 11. So I'm actually projecting him for quite a bit of positive regression here, having him, closer to a median 13.5 with about a 60% chance he stays under 15.5. But if you look at his actual historical numbers, it's even lower than that. So love taking Wandale's longest reception under 15.5 receiving yards a day.
That is just an edge of your seat prop. Like you just never know what's going to happen. Every time the ball goes in the air, you're nervous that it's going to be Wandale Robinson breaking something. All right, Simon, what do you got?
Going with Anthony Richardson under 30.5 pass attempts. And this is really about the game script, Chad. I mean, you talked all week. We love the Colts this week. And if you're like us, you love the Colts. We cannot have Anthony Richardson throwing the ball more than 30 times. They have never won a game when he's thrown the ball more than 30 times. And that's kind of how this team is, right? We want them to be run first. And the biggest reason I like this to me is just because both teams are going to eat the clock in this matchup. Now, little fun fact about this Colts defense with Gus Bradley, they run a ton of zone. That is literally the only defense that Jared Goff struggles against. I think all 9 of his interceptions have come against zone defenses this season. So they're going to run the ball a lot, Detroit. I think that's going to be their game plan heading into this game. Same goes for this Lions team. So that means less possessions on both sides of the ball, which means faster game, which means less pass attempts. And we know Anthony Richardson and this coaching staff, they've talked about they want him to be more of a runner in these read option possessions. And we saw last week, he's happy to pull the ball down and run it more now that he knows he's kind of playing for his career this season. There's no more protecting your body. They don't really think that way. They're like, dude, give us some wins, run the ball, stop trying to throw the ball downfield so much. So this is really about this matchup, Chad, and just the way I think this game's going to grow. He's only gone over this once this entire season. Twice in his whole career has he thrown more than 30 pass attempts. So I like this number. It's just, to me, it's bumped up just because people think the Colts are going to get blown out by the Lions. I just totally disagree. I think it's going to be much closer, a really run-heavy game in my opinion. So I love this number to go under.
Yeah, that's a remarkably high number for Anthony Richardson. It's entirely reflective of what the overall market is saying, what it believes to be true for this game. That's a really good point. Chris Raybon, give me your prop.
Let's go with Caleb Williams over 4.5 rush attempts. And we saw him tie a season high last week with 9 rush attempts in his first game under the new offensive coordinator, Thomas Brown. And sometimes, quarterback rushing stats can be very noisy. So when I project them, I actually break out kneel downs, non-kneel down designed running plays, and then scrambles because they all have different kind of characteristics. And last week, none of Williams' 9 carries that he got were kneel downs, quarterback sneaks. They were 5 scrambles and 4 designed runs. And his scramble rate peaks against the blitz. And Minnesota is the number 1 blitz team in the league this year under Brian Flores. We know that. And I think that you're going to continue to see these design rushing attempts as well. That's a very kind of sticky stat. Like once you see a quarterback getting design rush attempts, that tends to carry over from one week to the next because they're designed. So give me Caleb Williams over 4.5 rush attempts. I have this around 6.
Yeah. So I like to think about what the Colts are going to do. I'm heavily invested in the Colts. Of course, I want to bet Wale Robinson. Nick Giffen feels very strongly about the opposite side of what Raybon is saying. I don't know if we can bring Nick Giffen in right now. If not, Nick Giffen can debate this. Oh, there he is. Look at that. All right, Nick Giffen, you believe in the under. Right as I'm about to agree with Raybon, tell me what you think.
Yeah, so I actually took the under. Caleb Williams only averages 4.4 carries with non-kneel downs this year. And I'm not willing to bank on one game of designed runs to take the over, but it is a very good point. What I will say is the Vikings zone blitz scheme really prevents scrambles. So I know Caleb Williams scrambles the most under a blitz, but I think that could be maybe just not the spot here to use that stat. But I definitely, if Caleb Williams has more design runs, he's going over. If he doesn't, he's staying under. So I think it comes down to the design run.
Oh my God! Hold on, Raybon is coming back.
Can I just say one thing? Can I just say one thing?
Yeah.
You just said he averages 4.4 like of the regular whatever runs. That means he literally needs 0.6 more to go over. He had 4 design runs last week that he never.
But what I'm saying is his scrambles
before.
might be reduced this week, so that'll reduce that 4.4.
It's not gonna under pressure. A quarterback scrambles more, and under the blitz, a quarterback scrambles more. That's just a fact.
But Minnesota
if you have a
allows
clean pocket, you're not
fewest
scrambling.
one of the fewest scramble rates.
The
in the
whole
league.
point of scrambling is to evade pressure.
I love it.
All right, I'm excited about this one because guess what? I'm going with Raybon. And I don't care that the price on this is minus 125 because Raybon always gives me a hard time that I hate betting numbers with big juice. I don't care that Nick Giffen, who I love and admire and I think is maybe, along with Raybon, Koerner, Simon, Evan, the smartest person at the Action Network. I'm going with Raybon. I'm going with Caleb Williams over 4.5 rushing attempts. Well argued, Raybon. Too bad, Nick Giffen. All right, let's talk about some sides here. Sean Koerner. There also is a reason I chose Caleb, just to be clear.
Yeah.
I want to hear what Sean Koerner has to say about his first side.
Oh, okay. Well, you said you were going to have to sweat the Wandale prop. It's an event that's happened twice all year. So I'm not going to be sweating.
I didn't say,
But
hey, let's be clear. Let's be clear. I didn't say
nervous.
sweat.
You're nervous every time.
I said it's an
drops back,
edge
you're gonna
of
be
your
nervous.
seat prop. That's
Yeah.
you know,
Great. Well, everything is technically.
that's true.
All right. Well, for my side, I'm going to go with the Colts plus 7.5 here. I'm also fading the public. And I have the Lions ranked as my top team in my power ratings. I definitely consider them the best team in the league right now, but I still can't get there with having them being, 7.5 point favorites on the road against, a more average team in the Colts. But especially how good Anthony Richardson looked last week after being benched for 2 games. It just seemed like they had a much better game plan for him. And in an area where he's really struggled, has been against the blitz, that's where he looked much better last week. He completed 6 of 8 passes for 97 yards against the blitz. And, I think it's going to be key for that trend to hold here as the Lions blitz at the 5th highest rate. Plus, the Lions are going to be without linebacker Alex Anzalone. I think they have enough depth at linebacker. They should be okay there, but they have been, a bit more prone to explosive run plays inside the tackles. And that's where I think Jonathan Taylor is more than capable of exploiting that this week. He's also been just much more efficient when Richardson is under center. So I think they'll lean on those 2 players in the run game here. I actually hope Simon's prop hits. I don't want Richardson throwing the ball 31 plus times here, so I like that angle as well. But I think they keep it close here. And Detroit, they have a short week with a divisional game Thursday morning. Then they play Thursday the following week as well. So they have 3 games in the next 12 days. And this is a game that's much more meaningful for the Colts. I think they're going to bring max effort here. So again, I just think this is a good spot to fade the public and take this key number of plus 7.5 here.
Yeah, not having Anzalone, it's no baloney. Thank you. Thank you very much. Simon, take it away, buddy.
Hard to follow that one. I'm going with some chalk this week, Chad. Going Denver first half -3.
Coward.
It is the coward move, honestly, because it's just me and you both agree. There's something fishy about this line full game, but for first half, I love this number. And you can shop around. There's a couple public books out there that you can still get on -2.5. The number hasn't moved off that key number yet. And it's really all about Bo Nix. We've seen it this season. He's just better when it's on script. I mean, Sean Payton's a freaking genius. Like when this guy scripts it up, they just look so comfortable, that offense, and with Bo Nix running it. And on the flip side, I mean, is this one of the best defenses in football? We've been talking ad nauseam about how great this Denver's defense is, and every week people have excuses. Well, they haven't played anyone. They played a pretty good offense last week, and they embarrassed them. They dominated that Falcons team. Now we have incoming this Raiders team, which before the season I loved. I was blind to it. They are not a good team. It's not. You don't want a team that's going to be led by Minshew, and it's kind of bled out that way this season, where they're currently tied for the lead with turnovers this season. They have 20 turnovers, Chad. It's only week 11. They have 20 turnovers. They're basically averaging almost 2 turnovers per game this season. And now they're going against one of the best defenses in football. And we didn't even talk about how Denver, they're 7-4 this season against their first half spread. So this is a team that has been great against the spread, now playing against a team that likes to turn the ball over and struggle against teams this season. So to me, this is a no-brainer. It's all about the number as well. If you can get the 3, 2.5, that's such a great number for this Denver team in the first half. So I love this to cover.
Look, Minshew has 13 turnovers overall, 4 lost fumbles, 5 fumbles total, and 9 picks, including in that last game where the Raiders were dominating the Broncos. He throws a pick 6 that's 100 yards, changes the entire tenor of that game. They end up losing big. So I can see why we'd be afraid of taking anything with the Raiders, but this is truly, truly cowardice. Simon, I'm disappointed in you. Raybon, let's see if we can get Nick Giffen coming in here to kneecap you again.
Oh, man. Let's do it. Carolina Panthers, plus 11 at home against the Kansas City Chiefs. It's been a while, I think, since we've taken Carolina on this show, but have to do it here. Patrick Mahomes never covered as a double-digit road favorite. He has 1 push and 3 losses against the spread. Carolina, one of the best offensive lines in the league. It's healthy. They're getting some pieces back on offense. Bryce Young's looking more competent, kind of like the guy we thought he was going to be before the season. I don't know what it is with these time off. Like Richardson looked a lot better after getting some time off. Bryce Young as well. But that's all we need here with this number this big is a competent bad team. Carolina's biggest weakness on defense, they don't get any pressure. But Patrick Mahomes kind of the equalizer in that sense because he's thrown 7 interceptions from a clean pocket this season, which, that just this is not going to cut it. So I think that Carolina can actually keep it close here. I also think that emotionally, Kansas City, they went on this crazy run, winning all these games straight throughout the last postseason into this season. And then they finally lost one. And this game's not really that important in the grand scheme of things. I mean, it's an out-of-conference opponent on the road. So I don't think Kansas City, I think it's a kind of a trap game for Kansas City as well here. The Chiefs are 19-34-2, 36% against the spread when favored by more than a field goal since November of 2020.
So look, I'm going to discount Simon's pick. Great. Take the -3, 2.5 in the first half. La-di-da. I like the Panthers here. Simon and I talked about the favorites all week. We like the Panthers at +11. Everyone at Action Network has been tiptoeing back into the Panthers pool after such an atrocious start when we all loved the Panthers before the season, and then they were just horrendous. But we like what we've seen. Their run blocking is good. Their defense is getting better. Bryce Young has shown some promise in the couple weeks that he returned, and now at another week. All those stats for the Chiefs. Get it, like it. But I love the Colts here. You can see it in the app. I bet the Colts at 7.5. I bet the Colts on the money line. I bet Nick Cross, Colts safety, over 7.5 tackles when Koerner put it out yesterday. I'm heavily, probably over-invested in the Colts. Give me the Colts +7.5. Time to talk about the public. We love to fade the public. Usually that works. Let's take a look at where the majority of betting tickets are according to the Action app. For those who are new, the number of tickets generally represents who the public likes. The money percentages also available in the app indicates who the professionals like. This week, no surprise, the Lions getting a ton of money. The Buccaneers getting a ton of tickets. The Buccaneers getting a ton of tickets. The Chiefs getting a ton of tickets. For those who are inclined, if you want to bet the money line on the Lions, on the Chiefs, throw in the Commanders, heavy favorites against the Cowboys, throw in the Texans, also big favorites against the Titans. That money line parlay actually comes out to plus money if you want to take that shot. All right, let's throw it to Director of Research, Evan Abrams. He's going to make all of us smarter and make us feel a little bit better about the ugly bets we are making today. Take it away, Evan.
Yeah, no way that... Evan.
All right, thank you, Chad. Let's stick with public sides for a second. So according to Action Network betting data, public sides are an even 80, 80, and 3 against the spread this season. 52, 33, and 1 since week 6. 28, 46, and 2 between weeks 1 and 5. Dead freaking even. All right, let's go into 3 trends into the slate today. So the Titans are 1-9 against the spread this season. Worst record in the NFL. That is actually the worst mark for any team through 11 weeks since the 2007 Ravens, and just the second 1-9 ATS start in the last 30 years. The 2007 Ravens, for what it's worth, also started 1-10 ATS, so something to shoot for in Tennessee today. Now, we talk a lot about Jared Goff and covering the spread, but for what it's worth, Anthony Richardson, 8-3 ATS in his career. Last 2 seasons, he's only behind Kyler, Baker, and of course Goff against the spread. Now, Richardson's covered in 5 straight games. He's also 4-0 against the spread at home this year and has covered 5 straight at home. And today, it'll be the biggest underdog of his short career by 2+ points. So interesting numbers going into Lions Colts today. And then finally, I'll leave you with this. I use this on the favorites, and Chad would know that, but it's worth noting for the Chiefs-Panthers game. Patrick Mahomes has started 44 games as a road favorite in his career. When the home team has scored less than 20 points, he is 11-0-2 against the spread as a road favorite. When they score 20 or more, he is just 9-22 ATS. If we're betting on the Panthers, which I know a lot of us are today, it's all about Bryce and putting up some touchdowns. So, all right, back to you, Chad.
Bryce Young getting more than 20 points, no problem. Never been more confident about a bet in my entire life. Listen up, folks. Our Black Friday pre-sale is live. This is our biggest sale of the year for Action Pro. Do you want Koerner's props before everyone else? I talked about the prop for Nick Cross over 7.5 tackles. I got that yesterday because I got the alert and I was able to bet it right away. Then that number skyrockets. You also get ticket and money percentages on every game and our pro systems. Don't forget touchdown projections. Last week, Koerner gave out Will Dissly. Touchdown. Got it. Sign up now. Get $40 off an annual subscription. Let's get into it. Let's talk about some totals. Chiefs, Panther. Whoops. Koerner, take it away.
Yeah. I like the Chiefs, Panthers under 43. I expect this to be a lower scoring game. And the Chiefs should be able to move the ball, but with longer clock killing drives. And I think one thing that tends to be overlooked with the Chiefs is just how often they commit offensive holding penalties. They're top 5 once again this season. I think it's done to protect Mahomes. You want to protect your prize quarterback as opposed, sacrifice 15-yard penalty here or there. So what that does is it just makes their drives even longer or prevents them from scoring. And they're 9-1 this season, but they've actually run more plays this year while trailing than with the lead, which is kind of bizarre. So assuming they can play with the lead more here against the Panthers, which I guess is a big if, they should run the ball much more, which is why I was all over Kareem Hunt's over 18.5 rush attempt prop. I still like it at 19.5 if you can get it, but I think they're going to lean on Hunt heavily here this week, especially with Pacheco likely due back next week. So I just think they're going to have much more conservative game plan with Mahomes being way more turnover prone this year. He also just throws deep at the lowest rate in the league, so they don't get many explosive plays. So this is a spot where I could see them leaning on their run game and their defense here. And yeah, Bryce Young looked a lot better against the Giants before their bye, but this is a tough matchup against the Chiefs. I expect them to lean on their solid running game with Chuba Hubbard. They're finally getting their rookie Jonathan Brooks to make his debut today. I think he's the best running back from this class. But Kansas City is a top 5 run defense. And I think with the Panthers, you kind of want them to be a semi-functional offense, move the ball down the field to midfield and then punt, as opposed to going 3 and out and punting it. So I think Bryce Young being more functional actually helps the case for the under here. Plus, the Panthers games in general are probably due to be lower scoring. They rank top 5 in red zone touchdown percentage and bottom 5 in red zone touchdown percentage allowed. So typically you'd expect those to regress towards league average, which should lead to, lower scoring games for them going forward. So I love the under here. I was projecting this closer to 41.
Semi-functional. Kind of describes all of us. Simon, what do you got?
Going with the Bears, the Vikings under 39.5 or 39, depends where you can get it at. This is really just about these two defenses. I just think that's the strength of both these teams right now. The Bears, to me, their whole team is not in flux right now offensively, and we know that they made the change and that it looked better last week. That was against a Green Bay team that's really been bad this year. Green Bay's defense has only been good when they can get turnovers. That can't be said about this Vikings defense that, you could say early on was a little fluky. Now they're 11 weeks in. This is who they are, right? They're one of the best coach teams with Brian Flores, and the numbers kind of played out that way. On their Flores this season, they rank first in EPA per play, first success rate, fourth in EPA dropback. So clearly this is a really good defense that excels against quarterbacks. And we already talked about how much they're going to blitz Caleb Williams in this matchup. Now on the flip side, to me, the Bears defense, they're just not being talked about enough. Like last week, they really did shut down Jordan Love besides 1 or 2 big plays downfield. And obviously that could happen here against this Vikings team. We've seen that with Sam Darnold, but they're inconsistent. This Vikings offense has been inconsistent, especially his last couple of weeks with Sam Darnold. It seems like the book is out on him and how to defend him. So I love this Bears secondary. I think they're going to try to stack the box, make the Vikings team go away from the run to force the ball to Sam Darnold's hand. And again, that plays into this under here. I just think it's going to be a grueling, ugly game, and we've seen this number come down now. So it was a 39.5. Now it's turned to 39. Shop around. Try to find that hook if you can get it.
Yeah, if you're looking for a way in, this has been a tricky game. The line has moved from, I think, 5 down to 4.5 to 4 to 3.5. This morning, it's kind of painted 3 across the board. All the wise guy money has been coming in on the Bears. So if you're still looking for a way in, you've lost value on the sides, this is a pretty good spot to take a shot. Raybon.
Let's go with the Eagles Rams first half under 23.5. And I know we're going to talk about that game a little later. I'll have another pick for that, but I love this first half under because the Eagles are extremely run heavy. And especially in the first half, they lead the league in first half rushing attempts with Saquon Barkley, and why not? And now you don't have Devontae Smith, your number 2 receiver. So that helps the Rams focus on limiting the explosive plays from A.J. Brown, because you really only got him to worry about down the field. So I think Philadelphia continues to be run heavy in the first half. And their defense is also just trending up like crazy. Their 2 rookie corners, Mitchell and DeJean, are playing excellent. And they are now top 5 in net yards per pass, EPA per dropback, success rate in the first half is their pass defense. And the Rams are a slow starting offense, just 8.3 points per game in the first half, 27th in the league. That jumps to 12.4 in the second half, which is 12th. And the Eagles, they're 19th in first half scoring, and they lead the league in second half scoring. So you put it all together, Eagles first half unders are 8-2 this year. Rams first half unders are 7-3. So give me the first half under 23.5 Eagles Rams.
Yeah, I don't know why I feel like this is less cowardly than Simon's first half bet on the Broncos, but I will say I'm going with Simon and the Bears and the Vikings. I'm looking for a way in. The Bears defense, Simon mentioned, they're being a little bit overlooked here. Top 5 in EPA, excellent pass rush. They've been performing incredibly well because Matt Eberflus, while he's not a very good head coach, he's a very good defensive coordinator. I look forward to him taking on that role with a new team next year. Give me the Bears and the Vikings under the 39.5 if you can find it. If not, take the 39. Time to talk about some luck rankings. Nick Giffen couldn't help himself, had to jump into the show. My favorite stat in the Action Network universe is our luck rankings, takes all the noise out of randomness to give us a more accurate picture of a team's performance. For those who want to know more, check them out in the Action app and on actionnetwork.com. We got some decent luck rankings matchup. Nick and the crew already have a W on the board. They ordered it from Amazon. It was delivered Thursday night. They had Cleveland against the Pittsburgh Steelers. Got some luck totals, the Titans and the Texans. We got the Packers and the Niners is a big luck game. Nick, what's your first one to discuss today?
Yeah, well, that Niners-Packers game, I just got my Action app alert. It's moved to 6 now, so I'm going to probably be on the 6, which isn't my pick. But because it is a luck game, San Francisco, the unlucky team here, I'll go with Tucker Kraft of the Green Bay Packers to have over 3.5 receptions. I like it at plus 136. You want to make sure you get some good plus money on this one because I do have it projected right around 3.5, but that means you're getting value by getting that plus money. But like I said, San Francisco, the unlucky team, a luck difference of 26 unlucky teams with 24 more difference week 12 to the second to last week of the regular season. 27-8-1 against the spread, over 75% over the last 7 years. Of course, if San Francisco covers, that means Green Bay probably still needs to keep throwing the ball, which is why I like, in part, over here. Tucker Kraft also has been over 80% route participation in 3 of the last 4 games. He's really seen an uptick in routes run. And this is a good matchup for him specifically. I know San Francisco limits tight ends. They're middle in volume, but they've really limited the yardage, which is why I'm going the receptions here. But San Francisco uses slightly more than average too high looks and slightly more than average zone, both of which should help Tucker Kraft here. So that's my first pick.
All right, an ugly Packers-Niners game. What's the next one?
Yeah, second one, we're going to go to Tennessee, Houston. I took the under at 42 because it was a luck under. Now it's all the way down to 40 and a half. So I'm going to pivot here for the show and go Houston team total under 24 and a half. Mention it's a luck under, minus 5.2 luck total. A lot of that comes from the Houston side, where their luck team total is minus 4.1, second lowest of the week. One thing here, there's a lot of what I call over possession. Both teams combine to average about 65 minutes of possession. That can't happen unless we go to overtime, right? So these teams should have less of the ball. Having less of the ball gives you less opportunity to score. And also the weighted early down success rate for Houston here, negative 1.1%. So they could be facing a little bit more third or fourth and long than they have been facing lately. So Houston team total under 24 and a half.
Yeah, people are looking for ways to fade this Houston team. They have not been impressed with CJ Stroud all year, even with Nico Collins. Back, your final bet for today, Dr. Nick.
Yeah, we're going another team total. This time, New England versus Miami. We're going to take Miami's over 27 and a half. Miami's luck team total here is plus 3.7. So they've actually combined with New England's defense. Miami's been unlucky scoring, and New England's been a little lucky preventing teams from scoring. Tua here, he has a 9% positive production expectation thanks to the Patriots' high man coverage rate. Tua has done very well versus man coverage this year. Also, I talked about that weighted early down success rate for the Houston Texans being negative. Well, this is positive 4% for Miami here, so we should expect more short down stuff, which is easier to convert, helping them move the ball here. The Pats defense has actually given up more points per game with Drake May at quarterback, and that's because they've been more pass happy and playing nearly 2.5 seconds per play faster with Drake May at quarterback. And Chad, I did want to say about the Caleb Williams prop, I did take the over 4.5, but I parlayed it with under 22 and a half rushing yards to get that at 4-1 as a little hedge. That way, if he does go over his attempts, I still have a chance to make up some money back. So that's my little, fist bump there to Raybon.
Dr. Nick looking for every angle, digging deep, coming back, 25 minutes later to give Raybon his props after I've already chosen the over 4.5 rushing attempts. You get no credit for that, Dr. Nick.
I tracked it yesterday.
Yeah, let's talk about some Sunday night football. Right now, the Eagles are 3-point road favorites. The total is 48.5. This one has been bouncing around. 3, 2.5, 3, 2.5. Strong opinions on this one. I know my favorites co-host Simon Hunter has a very strong opinion. Sean Koerner, do you have a strong opinion?
Yes, I do. I actually have a brand new official tackles prop that's got me feeling nicey. It's Kobe Turner of the Rams, over 4.5 tackles plus assists. You can get it at minus 120. But he just keeps getting better and better in year two. And he's been very consistent in terms of tackles, especially lately. He's cleared this in 4 straight games. And this is actually the best matchup he's had all season, as the Eagles rank second in terms of tackle opportunities for defensive tackles. And most of his tackles come on run plays with occasional sack mixed in. But Raybon already alluded to this with his total, but the Eagles run the ball a ton. I expect them to run it a ton tonight. Saquon Barkley runs inside the tackles at a top 15 rate this season. Those are the type of run plays that Turner's going to be in on. And the tush push play, when they do get the 1 to 2 yards on the tush push, it'll be Turner there picking up the tackle or assist there. And the Rams scorekeeper is one of the most generous the past couple seasons when it comes to dishing out assists. So he always gets a slight boost when he's at home. They're at home here. He's cleared this in 4 of 5 home games. And he's cleared this in all 4 home games when he's facing a team that provides above league average in terms of tackle ops for a defensive tackle. So he's got it all going on tonight. Love the over here.
You always get me with scorekeeper stats. I don't know where you're getting them. You did it with Nick Cross yesterday, Kobe Turner today. Simon, you already know how I feel about your pick, but let's tell the people where your head is at.
Yeah, don't be a square like Chad, people. Chad is a giant square and hates winning money. So go with the Rams tonight, +3. It's the sharp side. Especially if you're out here taking the Browns on Thursday night, this is no different. You're selling high on a road team that's a favorite. That's what the Pittsburgh was. It's the same exact spot here with this Eagles team. It's a spot to sell on this team that is just overinflated right now. This line should be closer to a pick. But people just don't believe in this Rams team because what? They almost got backdoored by Drake May last week, and the Eagles rolled the previous week before against a rookie quarterback at home. That's what we're dealing with right now. And you've seen, like I talked to bookmakers today, 6-1, the money, the tickets on the Eagles. Everyone you talk to, it's just a ton of money. Let me know how that's going to work out for these guys betting heavily on this team on Sunday night. It's the same spot like last week with the Chargers. You want to take these dogs, the teams that people don't believe in these primetime standalone games at home, right? It's a long-term winner. And we didn't even talk about all the Herz trends. There's trends with Herz and these type of spots are terrible. Herz on extended rest on the road, 2-6 against the spread in his career. Herz on the road in night games, 2-5 against the spread in his career. So it's pretty simple. Take the Rams, take the free points. You're literally getting a free 1.5 here just because of public reception. So I love this one. This is the classic case of the public think they have a good number, and it's just going to come down to either landing on 2 or the Eagles losing outright.
Simon with a very strong opinion, very aggressive. I hope people are listening. Raybon, what do you got?
So I got an anytime touchdown prop for you. Let's go Britton Covey at 9-1. And he has been out of sight, out of mind. He's been on the injured reserve, but he was activated and doesn't carry an injury designation into this game. And he's expected to resume his slot duties that he was taking over for Devontae Smith the last time Smith was out. So we saw Covey catch 6 passes in his first extended action back in the home opener in week 2. And then he got hurt the next week and he's been out ever since. But in that game, he caught 6 passes. He also had 2 targets and 2 catches inside the 10-yard line. So that's what's really key here, that, even though, you don't just want a guy that's, catching some underneath slot passes, but the fact that he was able to be targeted in the red zone inside the 10, that's what we're looking for here, to try to get a non-tush push touchdown. And on top of that, he's likely to also pick up return duties, at least in the punt game for Cooper DeJean, so that DeJean can just focus on defense. So that's always an extra, shot or two in terms of the anytime touchdown market. So Britton Covey at 9-1. I have this projected closer to about plus 690.
So I'm torn right now. I want to support my compadre, my favorites co-host, Simon, because he feels so strongly about this. But I think there's a lot of differences between how he described the Chargers and the Rams and the Steelers and the Eagles. So I'm still a little hesitant, despite his being adamant. I'm going with Kobe Turner. Scorekeepers win. I love it. What really got me was what really
he will be in on every single tush push.
What really got me was the tush push. I love the idea that there could be 2 or 3 tush pushes, and Kobe Turner probably gets at minimum credit for 1.5 tackles if he's getting an assist on every single one of those. So give me Kobe Turner. But look, if you want Raybon's anytime touchdown, if you want to take the Rams, if you want to take Kobe Turner, we don't have the full Sunday Night Football SGP payout available. Not all the books have offered all of these props in one place at one time yet. We'll probably get that later in the day. Check out the Parlay Express handle or name. Follow that in the Action Network app. That's Parlay Express. As soon as all of these are posted in a book where we can get an SGP payout, we will post it in the Parlay Express handle in the Action Network app. Go follow it. This has been the show, folks. Everybody stay tuned for the touchdown show coming up next. Good luck, everybody.
Thank you, Chad, and welcome to the Touchdown Show for Week 12. I'm Gilles Gallant with the Action Network, and I'm joined as always with Brian Matthews, aka the BMAT, my partner in crime for touchdown betting. And each week, we cover the anytime touchdown market in the NFL. We'll have best bets for the 1 p.m. and 4 p.m. Eastern games, rather, and we're going to have some touchdown parlays as well. We've also got a touchdown same-game parlay BMAT for Eagles-Rams that I'm really excited about. That's for Sunday Night Football. Later in the show, we're also going to have a special guest returning. Week 1, Bobby Stanley is coming back. That's Prop Holiday on Twitter if you're not aware of him. He's got some touchdown bets he likes for Week 12. Also has a decent long shot for the 4 p.m. slate, so make sure to watch for that. So if this is your first time watching the show, I'll just give you a quick rundown of how it works. We're going to start off with our best touchdown bets of the week. They're going to start with the lowest odds, and then we're going to work our way up, and we'll just unleash some spicy bets. Last week, we hit another 2 touchdown bet, B-Matt. We got Taysom Hill. So again, we're rolling on that front in the spicy segment. And we're all going to have picks over around 10-1. That's coming near the end of the show. But let's start off, BMAT, with our best bets of the week. I'm going to start us off. I'm going right to the Houston Texans versus the Tennessee Titans. And naturally, I think a lot of people would think, why don't you take Nico Collins in this spot, who I do like, but instead, I'm going to take Tank Dell to score a touchdown this week at plus 230, BMAT. Tank, I think, is a little undervalued here because he has 2 touchdowns this year, but he's got 25 targets over the last 3 games, 10 red zone targets this year, 1 in each of the last 6 games. And this Titans defense has been a little bit better at stopping the run than the pass this season. They're 17th in defensive DVOA versus the pass, as opposed to 8th versus the run. And you could see last week against the Cowboys, like the entire Texans passing offense just got a huge lift with Nico Collins. I mean, he pretty much should have had a touchdown on like the first pass of the game. And also Derek Brown, former colleague of mine when we used to work together at FTN, he's now with Fantasy Pros. He had this in his preview about Tank Dell. Since week 6, among 76 qualifying wide receivers, Dell has ranked 6th in separation rate and 1st in route win rate. So he is looking awesome out there. It just hasn't generated the touchdowns yet. I think that changes this week. So Tank Dell at plus 230 is my best bet of week 12. B-Matt, before we hear about your best bet, what do you think of Tank? I know you've bet him before, but what do you think about him in this matchup against the Titans?
Look, I like this one, and I think if you hit this one, just like you did with Taysom 2 touchdowns after I ran it 3 straight weeks, then I'm gonna have to take a serious look in the mirror. But I love the matchup, and I'm glad that you're going to it. I think I'm gonna have to tail this one personally.
Well, Tank Dell is who I like, but now you have a best bet for week 12, who I also like. Can you share that with us? Who is your best bet for week 12?
Yeah, so I'm not gonna shock anyone, or this isn't gonna be anybody that's some angle that I've spent hours researching. It's Mike Evans. I'm gonna go Mike Evans anytime touchdown at plus 135. I just think if you look at the Bucs, Cade Otton has been their de facto wide receiver 1 for the last few weeks with Chris Godwin and Mike Evans out. They haven't had a receiver that's really stepped up and provided them a consistent option. So now you get Mike Evans back, who you wouldn't have been hard-pressed to pick him early in the year, even with Godwin. I mean, the guy scored 6 touchdowns in 7 games. It's kind of just what he does. So then you look at the matchup, and to cite Derek Brown, he had it, in his write-up. If you look at the passer rating allowed to deep passes, here is a perfect passer rating that the Giants are giving up on downfield throws. So take a look at which guys lead the Bucs in down the field targets. Mike Evans leads the team, even though he's missed a bunch of games. So look, I just think even if he doesn't play his full allotment of snaps, I think they're going to get him in there, get him some looks in the red zone. So I'm going to go Mike Evans anytime touchdown at plus 135.
I'm actually encouraged, B-Matt, on him playing more of a fuller slate this week. Part of the reason, though, dude, is they came out on Wednesday and said, yeah, he's playing. That was the one thing that I liked. There wasn't any is he gonna, and so there's that. And then also facing this Giants defense, he is going to get heavy volume. And I think as well at plus one, I love him so much. He is my first pick for my 180 challenge this week, the 18-1 touchdown parlay that I do each week. So Evans at this price, I mean, he opened around plus 160 and you saw his odds just kind of drop as the week went on too. So Mike Evans at 135, I think this is a good solid value for a wide receiver who should probably be priced around plus 115 each week. All right, so we have a huge announcement. We have our biggest sale of the year for Action Pro. It's our Black Friday sale. All you got to do is go to actionnetwork.com/Black Friday, and you can get $40 off the annual subscription to Action Pro. So this is a huge opportunity. You can get access to all of our picks, player prop projections from Sean Koerner and Nick Giffen and the entire projections team, pro insights. All you got to do is go to actionnetwork.com/Black Friday for $40 off from now until December 2nd. All right, B-Matt, let's look at Sunday Night Football. Decent matchup we got between the Eagles and the Rams. Game is in Los Angeles at SoFi Stadium, and we've got a total of 49. Right at the top, you see both starting running backs, Kyren Williams at -180 and Saquon Barkley at -170. Followed by Jalen Herz, who could actually break the record for most consecutive games with a rushing touchdown. He's got 5 already in a row this season. So Jalen Herz at -125. Then you start to see the receivers come through. You've got A.J. Brown, who coincidentally has not scored in about 4 straight games. He's around +140. Then you've got the pair of Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua, both around +155, +160. Now, no Devontae Smith. So you see Dallas Goedert there, +310, followed by Demarcus Robinson, Davis Allen, and then Jahan Dotson to round us out at +600. So B-Matt, I'm looking at this game right now, and I'm looking at the Rams side. And usually when we end up seeing Cooper Kupp around +150, +155, that's usually one of the guys that I immediately want to default to. But there's something a little unsettling for me about Cooper Kupp, because when I'm watching just from an eye test standpoint, I think Cooper Kupp is still amazing. But I think Puka Nacua has just looked elite when he is on the field this year. Caught his first touchdown of the week last week against the Patriots. He's got 25 targets in just the last 2 games. And playing against this Eagles team, which also plays a lot of man coverage, just like the way the Patriots do. And he leads the team in target share and yards per route run against man. So I don't want to talk you off the ledge of taking Cooper Kupp here, but what do you think of using Puka Nacua as the first leg of a same game parlay instead of Cooper Kupp?
Yeah, I love Puka, and then I almost, may I throw Dallas Goedert's name in the ring?
Okay, all right. I mean, I love Goedert too, and he's been pretty solid since coming back from injury.
No Smith, no Devontae,
and he caught a touchdown in Week 10. And last year, when they played against the Rams, he had 8 catches and a touchdown on this Rams team when they played at SoFi last year. So,
good matchup.
I think this is a pretty good matchup on the Eagles side as well for Dallas Goedert, who probably will see a target bump because Devontae's not playing. And then, of course, defensively, the Rams are, I'm pretty sure they're bottom 10 against DVOA, against both the pass and against tight ends. So for me, I feel like Dallas Goedert and Puka Nacua is a nice little solid pairing here. So why don't we do that as the same game parlay? Right now, if you parlay those two together, you can get that at 8-1 at FanDuel. So that's what we're going to do tonight. I think probably we'll put a quarter unit on it for Puka Nacua and Dallas Goedert at 8-1. All right, B-Matt, it's time to give out our second best bet of the day. I'm going to start us off, and this is a guy that I hit. He was actually my best bet of the week last week against the Jaguars, but I'm going to take him again this week because I think this is, again, another solid matchup, and that is Jameson Williams for the Detroit Lions. He's around +250. And again, I want to run it back because he's got 4 touchdowns now in 8 games. Last week, he had 4 catches for 124 yards and a touchdown. Pretty much every Lion scored on the Jaguars last week. And the Colts, they play zone at a top 3 rate and a lot of cover 3. And they've also been running some too high safety a little bit more lately. And he leads the team with 3 touchdowns versus zone this year. His yards per route run is the best on the team at 2.35 and a huge ADOT at 15.2. So he is getting down the field against defenses like this. So in this kind of game where it's one of the higher totals of the week, pretty much every Lion has got a premium on him. Like if you want to bet him on Ross St. Brown, if you want to bet Gibbs or Montgomery, you're going to pay a premium. They're probably -125 or higher. So I think Jameson Williams is a solid play in this game. B-Matt, do you want to do Jameson Williams with me? You want to come ride the Jamo train?
You saw my face. I was waiting. Like, is he done? Is he done? Can I jump in? I'm in. Look, I'm going to make it a collab. I honestly last week thought about jumping in on the Jamo train with you. I ended up just running his yards, and while that worked out for me, I did regret, not playing the touchdown. So you covered all the bullet points. High scoring game, indoors, a lot of zone defense. I just think this is a prime JMO matchup. And I think the odds, like for some reason, we're not getting the premium for JMO. I get that, he's not an 8 catch a game guy, but like you said, with a 15-yard ADOT, He can kind of go at any time. So I love this pick. Love the odds we're getting. So yes, I'm absolutely in.
Well, I think the big thing about him is the big playability. He's easily the biggest play guy on the Lions, but also part of the thing too is like you start to look at the top of the board and you're like, okay, they're not going to always just run it to Montgomery every time they get there, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And I expect the Colts to actually keep this game maybe a little bit closer than what the Jaguars are. Even when the Jaguars, they were down by 3 scores, the Lions were still running it up, right? So I love Jamo in this game. So plus 250, we're going to do a collab on that this week, B-Matt and I, for week 12. All right, let's bring in our special guest for the touchdown show for week 12, Bobby Stanley. Touchdown! And we are back with the extra point, and we have our special guest for week 12 of the touchdown show, making his return from week 1, Bobby Stanley Jr. Bobby, I feel like we just kind of cycled through all of our friends now, and we're back to square one here. But again, this is a good redemption opportunity. I feel like right now this is an awesome time. You just hit actually a really big bet last night with the NBA as well. So I want to hear, what is your best anytime touchdown bet for week 12?
So I'm high on Tyron Tracy, running back for the New York Giants. I got it at plus 160 over on FanDuel. And we were talking about it yesterday, Jules. It's the reverence of this Tampa Bay run defense. But I started looking a little bit more into the data, the analytics on it. Bucs allow the 4th most rushes inside the 5-yard line this season. They allow runners to get in at nearly a 40% rate. Obviously, Tracy has the starter badge. You get Daniel Jones out of there, frees up a couple red zone rush attempts, I think, for Tracy. And at plus 160, it's a great price when you're comparing it against the Kareem Hunts, the Joe Mixons. I feel good about this spot. Something I pulled from PFF. Since week 5, when given at least 1 yard before contact, Tracy has earned 90 rushing grade, ranks 13th out of 37 qualified rushers. Bucs are worst in the NFL. I'm sorry, second worst in the NFL in yards before contact with 1.56. This Bucs defense ranks 6th most fantasy points per game to opposing running backs. We do get Tommy DeVito. He's going to need a run game to rely on today. Yes, the spaghetti and all that jazz. I'm in New Jersey. It's been crammed down my throat. I can't take it anymore. I still remember. I get flashbacks from last season. But no, Tyron Tracy at plus 160 for a starting running back in an ugly slate. This is a great spot here.
I agree. And I think the big thing, too, we talked about that reverence of the Bucs defense. A lot of the time people will just push back with, but Vita Vea. And it's just like, okay, like I'm not saying Vita Vea can't stop the run, but they're not just going to always run right up the defensive tackle's gut. You know what I mean? So Tyrone Tracy, you're getting a starting running back at home with a quarterback making his first start of the season. I think it's a pretty solid value here. So Tyrone Tracy is going to be Bobby Stanley's best bet for week 12. Now, before you go, though, I know that you have a long shot that you like from the 4 p.m. slate. Please tell us, what is the long shot bet that you like for week 12?
If you got $5-10, it's a higher total game in a week of weak totals. Ricky Purcell, wide receiver 3 for the San Francisco 49ers, got at plus 650. More of a feel. There's a little bit of data behind it, but Niners 4th best wide receiver matchup this week against the Packers. He had two targets last week. He obviously performed better in his starts when Debo was out, but I'm hoping there's some connection there between the second team guys, Brandon Allen and Ricky Purcell. Of his 11 targets this season for Purcell, 2 of them were inside the 20. And we get some coach speak this week out of Shanahan. I feel like he's finally where we would need him to be if he were ready for week 1. He's in a real good spot. I think he'll continue to get better. So at plus 650 against this Packers defense, and there's a little bit of uncertainty there with Brandon Allen, I'm going to roll the dice. Give me Ricky Purcell as my long shot.
Pearsall with Brandon Allen now at quarterback. So let's see if that connection can come through. All right, Bobby Stanley, he is the owner of the Prop Shop Discord. He also writes for Pickswise. Bobby, please tell us what we've got going on for this week. Tell us a little bit more about the content we could see coming from you.
Sure, man. You mentioned earlier at the top, I had a nice NBA parlay last night. We had Scottie Pippen double-double parlay with Russell Westbrook double-double. $20, paid $2,200. Gave that out on Twitter. I'm over in the Prop Shop Discord. We are a small coffee shop cafe of a Discord in the Starbucks of the world. I do a weekly DFS pool. It's included in your membership. You can win up to $75. And we don't overload you with lottos. It's some straights, it's some lottos. It's a good time. And then my primetime articles come out with Pickswise. So keep them busy. Oh, and I have a live show. I do a live show every Thursday, Sunday, Monday at 5:30 p.m. Eastern, where I go over the primetime slate. We got some touchdown scores and my favorite bets of the game.
All right, that is Bobby Stanley. Make sure to follow him on socials as well at Prop Holiday. Bobby, thanks for joining us for Week 12.
Appreciate it, Bobby.
Touchdown! All right, many thanks to Bobby Stanley for joining us for the Touchdown Show. And now it is time for our spicy touchdown bets. This is where we try to get a little crazy, maybe look at some 2 touchdown bets, some longer odds. Last week, I was able to hit Taysom Hill at 14-1. That's actually my 4th 2 touchdown bet of the year that we've hit, B-Matt. Now, we didn't hit the collab on Deebo Samuel, but there is a guy that I think we should collab on this week. And I think he has a very high upside matchup, and that is DK Metcalf against the Cardinals. I'm betting him for 2 touchdowns at 12-1 right now. So, B-Matt, we're going to collab on this at 12-1. Each put a quarter unit on it. So let me tell you why I like DK Metcalf for 2 touchdowns. So last week, 7 catches, 90 yards against the Niners. But this is a little bit of an easier matchup against the Cardinals because the Arizona does play zone at a top 10 rate. DK has just crushed zone this year. He leads the Seahawks in target share, yards per route run. And according to Pro Football Focus, he could also have a little bit more of a favorable matchup, depending on if he's going to be matched up with Sean Murphy-Bunting, who has actually graded out poorly in coverage this year, according to PFF. So I'm expecting a little bit closer of a game. And when you look at Geno Smith game logs and you see what kind of games where his passing attempts are increasing, it's either usually in a trailing game script or in more of a neutral game script where it's within 1 score. The games where he hasn't been are games where he was just crushing the team. So I expect actually Arizona to put up a little bit of a fight, just like I expect Seattle to. I expect it to be a much closer game. So DK Metcalf for 2 touchdowns at 12-1. B-Matt, I know you wanted to collab on this one. What do you think of this one? Before you give out your second best bet, what do you think of DK in this matchup against the feisty Cardinals?
Yeah, I like it. He's been out too. It's DK Metcalf. So when you look as far as the mismatch is concerned, it's a good matchup with Sean Murphy-Bunting. And there are very few guys that can go up, and high point the ball, kind of do what DK does. So I think that'll be a breath of fresh air to have him back. And I think he had a good week last week. I think he'll have another big one. I think DK goes off today.
Well, and he's had some 2 touchdown games in previous years. It's just he got hurt this year. And then, of course, he's always been a main fixture for Seattle in the red zone, was consistently top 5 red zone target for the Seahawks in each of the last 2 seasons. So DK Metcalf for 2 touchdowns is going to be our collab bet of Week 12, or our second collab bet of Week 12, rather. B-Matt, what is your second spicy touchdown bet for Week 12?
Yeah, so normally I've kind of stayed in the 2 touchdown territory. I found a guy, and his odds were a little higher a few days ago. I still like it, though. I'm going to go Brevin Spann-Ford. He is plus 850, and he is tight end for your Dallas Cowboys.
Oh, so I don't think many other people know.
I'm going to do that. I'm doing that. So look, I looked at the game after Ferguson left, and if you look at the target distribution, it was CeeDee Lamb and the tight ends, basically, was the breakdown of how the targets were distributed. I mean, Cooper Rush targeted Luke Schoonmaker 10 times. Brevin Spann-Ford had 5 targets, 4 catches for 42 yards. So I just think this is a game where, to me, I think it's pretty obvious, unless Washington, shoots itself in the foot, that they're going to be up by a decent amount. The Cowboys are going to be playing from behind. And when you do that, you got to throw the ball. So for a guy that's playing 50% of the snaps, at least in the small sample size that we saw post Jake Ferguson, who's out today, then I like it at plus 850. So I'm going to go Brevin Spann-Ford plus 850. I just think the number's a little too high for a guy that's going to be out there.
Brevin Spann-Ford. You know that there's probably a portion of our audience who just did the full collective Conor McGregor, like, who the F is this guy? Like, that kind of thing. Like, they probably wouldn't even know who that guy is. Just they've been so because if you're not like paying attention to full depth charts, Brevin Spann-Ford, you probably didn't even know he was on the roster. So he's tight end 3, but now elevated to tight end 2, with Schoonmaker being up to tight end 1 with Jake Ferguson out in a trailing game script, which is very likely against the Commanders team. Well, I mean, they are double-digit underdogs, so I'm trying to be just fair.
I'm going to say I'm not trying to be bold here, right? I'm kind of just
no. You're taking a second string tight end now at very favorable odds in a trailing game script likely matchup. So I have a 2 touchdown bet that I like in that game, but it's actually on the other side. And I'm actually going to be looking at Terry McLaurin again, because Terry McLaurin, I think, has a great matchup this week with no Trayvon Diggs, and a good bounce back spot as well, because we've hit him on the show before. We hit him in week 6 against the Ravens at 14-1. He's got two touchdown games already this season. And without being too glass half empty, maybe glass broken and walking on the shards, the Cowboys are dead men walking. Like there's just injuries across the board, and no Trayvon Diggs, Zach Martin out as well. So they're 29th in defensive DVOA versus the pass. What I'm banking on, and really the big pushback of why you'd be a little worried on betting on McLaurin here is this game going to be a blowout? But I would just say that I think the reason why this game will be a little bit closer is the Cowboys or Commanders defense rather. It's not that strong. Like it's well coached with Dan Quinn, but they've got some holes. And, and if it is a Dan Quinn revenge game, maybe they run up the score, you know what I mean, on the Cowboys. Right. So there is that angle as well. There's a non-zero chance that they put up 40 on this Cowboys defense. So Terry McLaurin for 2 touchdowns at 13-1 is my second spicy bet of week 12. All right, let's move on to our last segment of the show. We're going to talk about the 180 challenge. And we put around, $10, 0.1 of a unit, whatever is 0.1 of a unit for you. $10 is our 0.10. And we try to get a parlay as close to 18-1 as possible. I've hit a couple personally, but for the show we have yet to hit one, even though we're only, down, I guess, like a unit total, because that's the whole point, is that they're not supposed to be exposing us financially too much. But the first leg, I think, for this parlay that we need to use is Tyrone Tracy from Bobby Stanley. Right now I'm seeing that around plus 175.
Oh.
But BMAT, I'm going to put a little bit of a long shot guy for my leg for this to get this parlay boosted up. And this one is tricky because he could be in the shadow realm for about half the game, and that is Patrick Surtain. I want to take Jakobi Meyers at plus 270. I want to add that to Tyrone Tracy because the one thing I like about Jakobi Meyers is that obviously he might see some shadow coverage from Patrick Surtain, but he's not just going to line up exclusively out wide. He's going to probably line up in the slot about 50% of the time. The Raiders do try to find ways to get him involved. And I could see the Broncos maybe even putting Surtain maybe a little bit on Brock Bowers as well, maybe to kind of match up with him, knowing how much of volume and targets he gets. So I'm going to add Jakobi Meyers with Tyrone Tracy. What would you like to add for the third leg for the 180 challenge, B-Matt?
Give me Scary Terry. He was in consideration for the mild pick. Let's inject some Scary Terry McLaurin here. I think, if I'm not mistaken, that should get us above the threshold here, right?
Oh, absolutely. Like our parlay now, if it's not 23-1, in some spots right now, I'm looking at this parlay, it's up to 25-1 right now.
Oh, yeah.
So
there we go.
Tyrone Tracy paired with Terry McLaurin and Jakobi Meyers. That is going to be our long shot 180 challenge parlay for the touchdown show for week 12. All right. Well, that's all for today. I've got 4 picks from BMAT. We've got 2 collabs on deck. We've got some touchdown parlays as well. I want to give a special reminder, the Touchdown Show, we're going to be on twice next week, BMAT. We've got a special Thanksgiving edition of the Touchdown Show. That's going to be on Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. as part of the Action Network Power Hour after Convince Me. We're going to have touchdown bets for all 3 Thanksgiving games and the Black Friday game. Then we're going to be back on Sunday at 11:30 a.m. Eastern, live right after Convince Me for Week 13. So I want to thank you again for joining us for the Touchdown Show for Week 12. Bone shows.